And welcome back to the New York Jets franchise rebuild. Here today, we have another offseason. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day. Please leave a like, comment down below what you thought, and don't forget to subscribe. Today, though, I want us to talk about a quick update with both the series, with both Madden 23 coming out, and basically the overall game plan. So, like I said at the end of last video, I want to repeat. I want to see if we can go out there and do it again, and we'll see over the next few seasons if we can do so. So that's basically the game plan with Madden 22. We're gonna probably play another 2 seasons at maximum, and then I will end up switching over, if we don't, to just simming and seeing if we can. I'm one of those franchise players that I really get invested into my roster. Let me bring up the roster. I really get invested in my players, the players that I've drafted, and just seeing their overall career. And I would like to continue with that. I know with the Falcons, we won the Super Bowl, I ended the series, and then we moved over to the Jets. I don't really want to do that this time around. And as I'm recording this right now, it's about a week away from Madden 23 to come out, and I still want to make Madden 23 content, so my game plan with Madden 23 is I'm going to do all 32 teams, 5-year realistic rebuilds where I will simulate each team, will go through my process, and that's kind of what I want to show you guys. It's going to be a series that I'm going to do throughout the channel or throughout the Madden 23 lifespan. So then it's just a little bit of different content. And then by the midway point, so a month away or at the beginning of October, is when I'm going to start the main franchise where we go through every game, we play every game, we pick one team, and we can see if we can do it again. So that's pretty much the game plan for Madden over the next few months. So I really hope you guys are excited as I am, especially because I do want to see some of these players grow and develop. I want to see Jonathan Jackson, Theodore Dickerson. I want to see if we can make Steven James a more consistent quarterback. Overall, I'm excited to see what we can do with this team. So let's get into today's off season. So first of all, because we're in this screen, let's go check out some of the players that had hidden developments. So to start off with, we already see this. Taylor Newberry is a superstar, which this is huge. He's gotten a lot of great development over this past season. Here are his ratings now. I actually think he got like 5 speed boosts. I have no idea. His progress has been just huge. I have no idea. And I'm excited to see what Newberry can do. The other hidden dev receiver was Phil Castello, who came down as an X factor, which definitely changes my perspective if we should keep Sean or not. But Phil, he's looking excited to hopefully grow maybe into a slot role. I don't really know. His height really concerns me, but I don't know. Happy though, he's an X factor. He did get a speed upgrade a few weeks ago. I don't know when. So now he's at almost 99 speed. And then the final player that had hidden dev that did not play at all this year, and I can't even find him, was Tony Tucker. Let's go to the roster. And Tony Tucker came down actually as also a superstar. He didn't play at all this year. He got injured during the preseason, but he came down as a superstar. Here are his ratings right now. He's actually really good. He's kind of game ready if needed. But as a depth pass rusher, very excited to see what he can grow into. So in reality, what are the question marks entering into this year? And I think there's pretty much 2 big ones. Once I sim past this week here, I don't know what's going to happen with Deandre, Hopkins, and Aaron Donald. We know the importance of Hopkins and what he brought to the offense. He brought 70 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 10 touchdowns. We haven't had that partner in crime for Elijah Moore at all through this franchise. And if he retires, it kind of puts a big hole at wide receiver, because I don't think I'm going to keep Sean. I know he had a big game in the Super Bowl. I think he's just kind of a one-trick pony. He will hit that will get the deep shot, maybe once every 3 games, and that's like the best case scenario. I love his ratings. I think he's a very talented receiver. I just don't think I think it's time for us to move off of him. And of course, for Aaron Donald. Now, our defensive line did not go out there, and all of these players, Myers, Williams, Donald, and Jackson, they all didn't hit 10 sacks, but our run stopping performance was through the roof. I really think we played excellently stopping the run, and that's the reason I think we should keep Donald. Don't forget, Donald, we only signed him to a 1-year deal, so what do we do with him? How much money is he going to ask? How much regression is going to hurt? So let's go sim to the next week. We have to go through re-signings. There's a few players that we have to make decisions on, and then we'll get to the free agent pool and then the NFL draft. So I actually don't think I ever showed this screen to you guys, the yearly awards. Let's go through this very, very quickly. So the MVP of this year was Patrick Mahomes. The coach of the year was our coach, Jack Martin. For the AFC, Mahomes for the Offensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. Jordan here was the Rookie of the Year, and then Jonathan Thornton was the Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. Mahomes, Best Quarterback. Joe Mixon, Best Running Back. Meeks, Best Receiver. Trey Smith, Best Offensive Line. Myles Garrett. TJ Watt, Mike Hughes, and then Justin Tucker. So we had one person who hit the best award, so really not a lot for our team. That's okay. We won the big game. It doesn't really matter. So now we have entered into the offseason. We'll check out actually the mock draft. I don't usually do this, but let's first check out retirements and see if we have any of our players. So Jake Matthews and Aaron Donald have both retired. So backup offensive lineman retired, but Aaron Donald decided to retire playing 1 season with the New York Jets and then called it a career. He won a Super Bowl, and that's that. I mean, hey, we got the most out of him. So the other big name players, Zach Martin retired. We see Fletcher Cox, who was on our team a few seasons ago, and Adam Thielen, and there's a couple other big name players out here. So Derek Watt, the other Watt brother. So there's a lot of big names out here, but DeAndre Hopkins decided to stay for 1 more season, at least. He is still under contract. So we are right now sitting at $91 million, and we still have 18 players to decide on what we should do with them. But let's first check out this mock 3. I don't usually check these just because I feel that, these are just where these players are going to go. Let's go see where we're mocked to. They're mocking us a day 3 tight end, Nick Woodley, a kid that I like, don't get me wrong, but he's a kid that I'm going to take in the later rounds. But overall, the first round in this up-and-coming draft, we have, I think, 8 picks to make. Will this screen show me? It won't. We have 8. I know we have more than 7 picks to make. But there is a player that I want to target here in the first round, and I don't want to make 7 picks, even 8 picks. I want to make maybe 4 to 5. So we'll see when we get to that stage in the offseason. But let's go through these re-signed players and see what big decisions we have to make. So to start off with, we have to decide on Stephen Meredith, excuse me. Seth Knox is another player. But for Meredith, he wants a 4 years, pretty much $40 million. That's probably what would have to bump it up to. So that's $10 million a year. I've talked about Meredith before. He's a player I like, but I just don't see the production. Let's go to the back half. I'll make some of the more easier decisions, and then we'll get to Meredith and others. So let's start off here with Zach Gold, 72 overall linebacker here, who wants a 2-year, $5 million. He's definitely a player I would like to keep on the roster. Here are his ratings. He's been a backup, but he has solid speed. He has 75 zone coverage. It's difficult to find good cover linebackers. He can kind of stop the run a little bit. I think for a solid depth linebacker who's 25 years old, he's definitely someone that I want to keep. So 2 years, $5 million, got the deal done, easy peasy. For Kirk here, he's a player who's a solid safety. I just don't think we're going to bring him back. No matter how much this is just depth moves, I don't think we're going to bring back Kirk. For Alfonso Waller here, Let's give him a contract. He was an undrafted player. I want to give him a 2-year, about $1 million a year. And Walker decides to resign. For Eric Carter, I'm not going to bring back Carter. He's a solid tight end. He's a player that I just like for whatever reason. I have no idea. But I'm just not going to bring him back. For Josh Myers, this is actually a contract I would like to actually just do if he will just take this. And he will. He signs the 1-year deal. Got to have backup offensive linemen. For Jawan Johnson, we're going to let him test. Same with Javon Hargrave. Now, Rodney Stockhouse, this is definitely an interesting one. This is about $5 million a year for a backup pass rusher. We still have Tony Tucker, who would basically become our 4th. I don't know. We'll think about Tucker or Stockhouse later. For JJ Cunningham, this is one that I have been thinking about all season long. For JJ, I don't think I'm going to give him this contract. I know he has 82 coverage, or 80 coverage, 90 speed. He's an excellent linebacker. Just paying him $7 million a year, and he didn't play a lot. He wasn't our starter, and I would rather keep right now Jalen Smith, who I just know who can make plays. So with JJ, I just don't think we're going to make this move. So we're going to withdraw from JJ. For Jalen Smith here, I want to keep Jalen on this roster. He's definitely a contract that I would like to keep, even if we're paying a little bit more. So I'm going to make sure it's a 1-year, $4 million. Keep Jalen on this roster, and he's going to actually test. So he's definitely a player that I would like to bring back, though. Now, this is for the third pass, or the 4th or 3rd pass rusher. Do we keep Justin Trent, or do we keep Stockhouse? I would like to keep one of them. For context, I drafted Stockhouse. I traded for Justin Trent. So with that, I'm going to see if I can keep Stockhouse. I am one of those GMs that I like to keep the players that I draft. So we'll bump up the money a little bit for Stockhouse. Stockhouse decides to stay, so that means we're not going to be keeping Justin Trent. Just no need to keep him on this roster. For Seth Knox, this is a difficult one. He wanted a 3-year, $15 million the last time I saw this. Now it's a 2-year, $11. It's still a lot of money for a fullback. And you guys know me. Fullbacks are always part of my series. He has excellent lead blocking. He always finds the end zone. Do I just give him this contract? Because I would be worried. I mean, I would. Can we pay him this? We could. Yeah, if he takes this, I'll do this. Okay, he accepts the 2 years. It's probably more than I should be paying for a fullback, but hey, you guys know me. Fuck it. For Bobby Wagner, let's see his ratings. He's a good player, but for Wagner, he actually still has solid speed. He didn't lose that much speed for a backup linebacker. He just lost some block shed. For Wagner, though, we're going to let him test. I'm not going to bring him back. And now we have basically the big 5. For Sean Samuel, I talked about this a little bit. I'm just not going to keep him. Samuel, thank you for your services, but we're going to go to free agency. Jack Conklin, I would rather do a 1-year deal with Conklin, and because of that, I'm not going to give him the contract. We did draft 2 offensive linemen last year, and I think we just can't pay every offensive lineman. We're already paying 3 of our 5 offensive linemen, and I just don't see it in the room. We have to make sure we are saving money for next season because of Stephen James and a couple other players. For James Bradbury, he's a contract that I really... The problem with Bradbury is this. He's a good player, but he doesn't make the big interceptions, and he's not the superstar cover line or corner. So with that, I'm going to let Bradbury test. He has a contract that I would bring back, but I'm going to let him test. For Justin Tucker, for simplicity reasons, we got to just keep Tucker. I just am terrible at this game, so I always just miss my field goals and extra points. But Justin Tucker, he's going to test free agency. We could tag him, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to let him test. For Steven Meredith, I've talked about this a little bit. What I'm going to do, because I would rather give him a 2-year, $15 million type of deal. If he accepts that, I mean, I would be more, I would do this. 2 years, 15. I would be more willing to have this. I don't think he's going to accept it. That's fine. I've talked about this a little bit. We're going to tag and either play him or trade him. One or the other. We have a player behind him that we could start in Dylan Henry. But for Meredith, I'm not going to let I'm not going to let him go out for a free agency for free. So with all that being said, what are the contracts for the up and coming season? So we know we have Steven James and his contract. He's 27 years old. He would be 28 when he gets this new contract, but he's almost a 90 overall. Here are his ratings right now. He's definitely a player that I don't know just yet if I would give him an extension. Steven right now, even though, yeah, he just won a Super Bowl MVP and a Super Bowl for us, he's a player that makes a lot of mistakes, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a bad Madden player. I probably am, but he's a contract that we have to think about next year, and I just want to show you guys. The next player is Adam Wright, who's not going to want a big contract, but he's still going to want a deal, and I don't think we're going to be able to pay 3 running backs or 2 running backs, so maybe this is the last year that we have pretty much the big 3 at running back. And then we have Alex Morris, who's our starting center, who we have to make a decision on. He's an 86 overall, very good. He's almost top 10 in this league. Excellent in pass blocking. Got to work on the run blocking a little bit, but overall, very good player. And then finally, we have the 2 players in the secondary. Michael Hamden, who is right now one of our best corners, who, if you guys know me, or if you don't know, I really like my first ever players I draft, and Hamden was our first player I ever drafted, so he's definitely going to get a new contract on this roster. I'm very biased in that way. I always try to make my first player into something special, so I'm going to try with Michael as well. And then finally, Jalen Bonds, our starting safety. So we have a lot of big name players that we have to re-sign for next year. So it's partially the reason I think this up and coming free agency, we will be aggressive, but we're going to make more role player type of moves, and maybe not big long-term contracts, more big 1-year deals again. So let's go see the free agency pool. So right now we're sitting at $60 million in cap space, which, don't forget, we still have to consider what do we do with Steven James and others. So like I said, we have to kind of go with this free agency, not with the mindset of paying a lot of big long-term deals, but can we get a couple short-term contracts? But we already see Ezekiel Elliott is out there in free agency. We don't need a running back though. Christian Kirk is out there. We don't need a wide receiver. Hopkins decided to stay. Jonathan Allen is out there. I mean, he could be a player that we bring in to replace Donald. I mean, this is not at all a bad move if we wanted to. Troy Minks, he was actually on the Chiefs team, but he's yet again a player that I wouldn't bring in. A couple kickers and punters, Xavier Howard. So this is definitely an interesting. And here's Terence Simmons, a big-time linebacker. This is actually a move that we could decide to make. I know I said I don't want to make a lot of long-term contracts, but off-ball linebacker is one of them, and it is technically a need here. And, Simmons here, he is not the best in coverage, but hey, we could work on that for the next few seasons. How old is he? 25? I mean, he's definitely a player that we could just throw a bunch of his all of his upgrades into coverage, and he would be a solid cover linebacker with good run stopping. So this is definitely a consideration. But let's go through some more of the. I wrote down some players that I would like to go down and go get. And let's go see if we can make some signings. Well, first of all, we're definitely going to give a contract here for Jalen Smith. I am now going to bump it down just because he decided to test. So it's going to be a 3-year or 1 year, $3.3 million. We're going to give him this offer. Hopefully he comes back. He's definitely a player that I really do like on our defense. Hey, Let's reunite the New York Jets with Blake Cashman. He played last year in Minnesota. He had a solid year. I was keeping my eyes on him. But for Cashman to come back here and be our third linebacker, I would love it. You know, he's a good player. I never wanted him to go last year, but let's give him a one-year deal. So I'm looking through these corners, and you know, there are a lot of top tier corners out there. Xavier Howard, we have Kendall Fuller, Stephon Gilmore, Jeffrey Thompson, James Bradbury, Dante Jackson. You know, we see a lot of big name players, but the interesting one here is Jeffrey Thompson here, who's 26 years old, who only wants a 2-year, $10 million deal. For starters, that's not a lot of money, but he has 90 speed, 89 coverage, 68 zone. We just kind of work on that a little bit. I know we drafted Sheldon Love last year in the first round, but I think to replace James Bradbury, Jeffrey here would not be a bad idea. Now with Jeffrey, I think we go with a 3-year deal, about $16 million. Let's see, there's a lot of interest around the league for him just because of his age. We're in 9th. Let's just bump up the signing bonus a tad. Maybe we bring this down a little bit and then just make it a lot into the guarantees, because I would like to have Jeffrey on this roster. 100-point bid here. We're now in 4th. How much do the Chargers want for him? I have no idea. And sometimes this bugs out, and you know, your RR during the biggest contract, 105. Man, they're definitely putting a big offer out here. We'll bump it up a tad bit. I don't want to go more. This is actually kind of getting expensive. What about what's 2 years now? What is that looking? 111. 2-year offer is probably the direction that I would go in. Just because it's a lot of money, and you know, we have 2 players in the secondary next year that we're gonna have to pay. So two years, 14.5. I actually don't mind that for bringing in a solid corner to come in here and probably play as our 3rd corner for this team. Now the other spot is defensive tackle for our defenses. I've been putting overall so much focus at the defensive positions. Thing is this: do we bring in Jonathan Allen for 1 season? We can pay him. Or do we go after maybe some of these other veterans or other players to come in here and maybe play a certain role? We did draft David York, and we do have Eddie Kirkpatrick on this roster to maybe play a role. But I think for our defense, I think we need to continue to have this all-in type of mindset. And Jonathan Allen here, hey, you played on the football team last year. Come over here to New York and play for us and help us. So we'll make this a big 1-year deal. I want it to be a 1-year, $14 million. 118 points. Do we top Chicago? We do. I would love to bring in Jonathan Allen to help out our defense. There is another defensive player who was also actually, funny enough, on the Washington team, and that's Jason Bush here. Now, he's nothing special. He's 77 overall, but he has a 93 power moves. He's definitely a player I would like to bring in here. We do need some backups on this roster, and I'm going to offer him a 2-year deal here. I want him to basically come in here and be our backup defensive tackle. He's not going to be the best at stopping the run, but being a pass rusher, he can exactly do that. I'll top off the Bengals offer here. Yeah, we got it. 2 years, $11 million. I know that's a little bit more than he's asking for. We just did a 1-year deal, but I would like him to be here for next couple years just to work on his run stopping as well. One important note here, JJ Cunningham is getting a massive deal by the Kansas City Chiefs. That's only important because the Chiefs are a team but we can't beat, and it would be definitely heartbreaking to know that he went to a rival like that. But you know, he's a good player. Hopefully he gets his money. The other player is Justin Trent, who's expected to get a big contract, it looks like, from the Ravens. But I'm going to continue looking around. There's still a couple other players that I might go target. Let's check actually quickly out wide receiver. So we know the top 2. They have James Jenkins here, Ben Wallace, Sean Samuel, who's getting an offer here by the Titans, who might reunite with Zach Wilson, who Wilson played with him for a season. So there are a few good wide receivers out here. Thing is this, I don't think we need to go after anyone. You know, we could bring back Brandon Cooks, welcoming him back, but I don't think we need a wide receiver on another veteran receiver on our roster. We have 2 young kids that I really like, so I don't think we're going to target receiver. You guys always know I look at running back. I'm just not going to make any moves, and the only starting quarterback out there is Rashard Thompson here, who is going to get a big deal, it looks like, from the Eagles. So with the retirement of Jake Matthews, the thing is this, it was apparent last year that Mekhi Becton got hurt a lot. We do need a backup tackle, and Taylor Decker here would be an excellent bring in. So because there's no bids right now, I'm going to bring down his offer just a tad. He would be a good backup, good tackle right now just to have on the roster. He could start on the right side if needed. Let's check out the right side. Just because Jack Conklin is out there, Conklin is wanting a 1 year or getting an offer by the LA Rams, but I mean, we could do an upgrade here. We could go after Trent Brown here, who is a big name player, who morale is hurting him a lot right now. But maybe we kind of upgrade here at tackle. We get a big time right tackle. Yeah, let's do that. But because of the fact that he has no offers, I'm going to bring this contract down a little bit. 1 year, $6 million. He would be an upgrade over Jack Conklin. Right now we have $17 million. Let's go see the contracts that I'm offering. So we have a lot. So let's go sim to the next week, and then we see if we have any new New York Jets. And we have been rejected by Thompson here, accepted by Jason Bush, Trent Brown. Jonathan Allen is coming over. Jalen Smith is back, and as well as Blake Cashman. So our linebacking core is back reunited. We get another big-time defensive tackle with a good backup and a solid tackle, but we don't get the corner. So corner now becomes a need. So now this is how the roster would be looking if we had to just start right now. I don't know why Madden is taking a while to load. Hopefully I don't get kicked off the servers. But we now have an upgrade at right tackle, so the offensive line is pretty much secure. In terms of running backs, we're good. Receivers, I'm happy with. We probably just need a depth receiver. We gotta make a decision if we keep Meredith. He might be a trade-up type of piece for us. And then defensively, I mean, right now we have 3 linebackers that I like, that I know. We have our defensive line with backups. We have our safeties. I mean, right now it's just corner. So let's go back into free agency. And don't get me wrong, guys. If needed, I can start Sheldon Love. We got a lot of development for him. I'm kind of okay with starting him, and that was kind of the game plan too. But I would like to have another corner. I always like to have at least 5 starting caliber corners on my roster. So let's go check out corner again and see. Also, let's go see who has signed where. So Ezekiel Elliott has signed with the Tennessee Titans? Wait a minute. Do the Tennessee Titans now have Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott? I gotta know this. I'll check it out afterwards. But Ezekiel Elliott is going to Tennessee to join up with Zach Wilson. My goodness, that running back group. Christian Kirk is going to the Vikings. Malik Sear is going to the Dallas Cowboys. Xavier Howard's going to the Vikings. Simmons, I think he's actually going back to the Panthers. I don't remember. Same with Gilmore. Jenkins is going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wallace. Sean Samuel's going to the Titans. So there's a lot of big moves. And of course, I forget about Justin Tucker. He's going to the Washington football team. So they wanted our kicker. I mean, they did miss a field goal in the Super Bowl, so it kind of makes sense. And the Eagles signed a new starting quarterback. So kind of missed out on the quarterback, and Jeffrey decided to sign a 2-year $10 million. I gave him a bigger deal, didn't I? I don't remember. But Jeffrey decided to go to the New Orleans Saints. Bradbury is going to the Falcons. So there's a lot of moves that are being made here. Grady Jarrett going back to the Falcons. Happy to see that. So still need a kicker. Let's go check out the kickers real quick. And, you know, And Will Lutz is out there. Actually, I really like Will Lutz, so I'm going to offer to Will. We're going to just knock this contract down. Hey, maybe we can get him to like a multi-year deal, and maybe he'll sign like 2 years, $7 million. We'll see if that works. We still have about $20 million, $22 million in cap, and I am planning on spending it. It's just now kind of figuring out where. Corner is definitely in an interesting spot now with no Bradbury. Adante Jackson, do we reunite and bring him back? You know, we let him go a couple years ago. There's still a lot of good veterans out here. Or do we go with someone who's younger? You know, or a different veteran? I don't know just yet. I'm gonna go through these corners, see if there's someone that I like. If not, I might just not do anything here at corner. So I am making a contract offer, a 2-year deal for Juwan Johnson. I would like to have him as our third tight end, bringing him back. But you know, with the rest of these corners, I mean, I might be able to get a Dante Jackson to come back during free agency. The thing about Jackson is that he would just come in here and be a fourth corner. He's just kind of coming in here for his speed and just because I know him. But I just don't see anyone out there. You know, maybe the only other corner that I would consider would be Tre'Davious Ward, just because he is still a solid man corner. And I think the trio with Sheldon Love and what's his name, Michael Carter II, they could all play kind of that third corner spot, and we could rotate to see who has the hot hand. But I just don't see right now myself doing this. So with that, I do want to trade up in the first round, and I want to do this now. And there are a couple players that I would like to trade for as well. So let's go make those type of moves, and then we'll continue to sim. So the first trade I decided to make is trading Ezekiel Knowles, our third string quarterback, to the Green Bay Packers for Woody Hood here. I'm going to show you guys his card, as well as I threw in a 6th round draft pick. Now, Hood on the Packers, who we've actually made a lot of deals with. Wood was their third string safety, and I really wanted to bring in a backup safety that's on a low contract for a season. Now Woody here, he's solid in run support. You know, he has 88 speed. He has solid enough coverage for a 26-year-old safety, in my opinion. He has good hit power. He will be able to help us in both in the running game, and he might not be the best in coverage, but he will be our solid third safety. And for Knowles, we don't really at this moment in time need a third quarterback. The Packers right now have basically a decision to make at quarterback, and Knowles can come in here and compete with Spencer here to be the starting quarterback. You know, like I said, we make a lot of trades with the Packers, so we'll see. And like I said, Woody was their third safety. They have 2 veterans here that are better. So happy to make this move. And then there's one other player that I'm going to just kind of point to you guys. And we played against him actually in the Super Bowl. And that is Cole Ellerby here. Now, Jamie Davis here, who's 27 years old, who's already their top tier linebacker. But Cole here, and this is the thing about our franchise, we've yet to have 2 top tier linebackers. Now Cole here could solidify our linebacking core. So I'm going to see if I can make a trade with them to bring him in here. Now, if we do make this move, we're going to have to pay him next year, and this would add another big contract to the books. But I would really like to have 2 top-tier off-ball linebackers, at least for a couple seasons. I'll see if I can make the trade. If I can't, I'll let you guys know. So I tried trading for Cole. It didn't work. Let's go sim to the next week and see if we get any new free agents. It was just a long process. They don't want to trade him. So let's sim to next week and see if we have any more New York Jets. So Taylor Decker is signing, so that's good. And we do have a 5th-year option, and we also have private workouts, and we have yet to really talk about the draft. But we have a 5th-year option for Jonathan Jackson. This is absolutely a contract I want to pick up. He is a big-time pass rusher for us, who he did have his worst year last year, but he is still a dominant force. Now let's go talk a little bit about this draft, which we really didn't talk too much just yet. It's a draft class that, in my opinion, is extremely top-heavy. You know, when I look at my favorites, you know, I have right now 24 players. And in reality, Desean Bryant here, he's my favorite player right now. I want to get more information on him. He's a player that I want to move up in the first round to go get, as well as Matt Joe, and it's one of these two players for our third scouting report. Let's go with Nick Woodley here. He's a tight end that I really like. He's fast. I know that for a fact. But these are the three players that I want to potentially target in this draft class. And Desean is definitely a player I want to trade up for. So we'll go do that. And then let's go back into free agency and see if we can make any more moves, just because we still have $21 million to play with. So right now we're still waiting on Will Lutz and Juwan Johnson to make some decisions. Right now there's a lot of players that are being offered some smaller contracts. Like I said, we just gotta continue to make. How the hell is why is Tom Brady still a free agent? I just decided to scroll through the quarterbacks and Tom Brady is still around. You know what, Brady, just because you're Tom Brady and for whatever reason you've yet to retire, come here, be our third quarterback. What do you guys think? That's the thumbnail. Tom Brady is now a New York Jet. But like I was saying, you know, there isn't really a running back that I want to bring in. You know, there are some players that I like out here, but I don't think we're going to make a move. For the wide receiver, same thing. I just don't see myself bringing anyone. I mean, I would consider bringing back Brandon Cooks for a year, but you know, Cooks would come in here basically just be a slot receiver now. So I don't really want Brandon back. For tight end, I hope Juwan Johnson comes back. If not, we probably could bring in like Dalton Schultz or something. But I don't think we're going to make any moves on the offensive line. And then for the defense, I don't think so either. So I think free agency is kind of done. There is one other player that I want to try to sign, and Adante Jackson looks like he's going to get a contract from the Steelers. Yeah. So I think it's just Travarius Ward if we can't bring in anyone else to help out the secondary. We still have $20 million to work with, so I don't know just yet. But let's go sim to the next week, and we're gonna have to do something to trade up, because to get the player that I wanted the draft, we're gonna have to trade up pretty aggressively. So I'll see if I can make any sort of moves beforehand. So both Will Lutz and Tom Brady are now New York Jets. I'm kind of happy that I signed Tom Brady. I mean, why the hell not? So right here, right now, as we have one more mock draft to look at, we do have the 32nd overall pick. What are our needs? I mean, I guess third receiver, but I really like Ben Toon and Phil. So do we add more competition? That's a question. Do we make a move? This is kind of a draft where I think if we just kind of go after the players that I want to get. So if we can make a move up, trading up in the first round, we should do that. But, you know, it's kind of interesting to see Tom Brady as a New York Jet wearing number 14. That looks just disgusting, him wearing number 14. I'll change it so then he's wearing number 12. Don't worry. I don't know who's wearing number 12 on our roster right now, actually. But I'll make that change. But really the question is this: do I decide to trade now Steven Meredith? 26 years old, one of the better tight ends in our league, but he's going to want a big contract soon enough, and I just don't see it with us. Do we trade him now to try to get something out of him and then just turn to Dylan Henry, who still has 2 years on his contract, who might not be the best in terms of route running, but he has the same speed, same blocking, same hands. It's just the route running, and he's less injury prone. So that's the question. Do I make a move there? Other than that, you know, defensively, I think we have our linebacking core situated. I think we have our safeties. Corner's probably the only other spot at this moment in time. So I think if we're going to make any sort of trades, it would be to trade Meredith to trade up in the first round. And the deal has been made. We are trading up into the top 10 trading away Steven Meredith, a first-round pick next year, and a first-round pick this season. So we're trading away our 2 first-round picks and Meredith, trading up with the Tennessee Titans to get the 6th overall pick. I know this is a ton of value at just face value. I want you guys to sit back and look at it from this. Tight end in our offense is very rarely used. And overall, Meredith is a very good tight end. I loved when we drafted him. I thought he was going to become a game changer. But for Meredith, he just hasn't been. And trading him to the Tennessee Titans to get now a to get the 6th overall pick is huge. Look at Meredith's stats just real quick. He's never broken over 600 plus yards. You know, he's never gotten over 700 yards receiving, never over 10 touchdowns. He had 1 good year. And that's, in my opinion, a very below average type of season for a tight end of his caliber. So with this, for me, if Dylan Henry can do give or take the same, and let's look at Henry's stats over the last few years. In my opinion, for Dylan, I look at his last year, I'm like, yeah, if you put him as the starter, he's going to put up the same amount of production, maybe a little bit more. I think this trade makes sense, and the 2 first-round picks, hey, we are a good team. We don't need all those picks. Now, when we look at the Tennessee Titans, the funny thing is this. You know, we just traded Meredith to them. They obviously signed Sean Samuel, as well as they have both Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry on their roster, with Zach Wilson. Their offense has now gotten extremely loaded, and sure, could have I asked for a draft pick back? Maybe, but overall, I think we made a smart move here. There's a player that I really want to go get, so that's what we're going to basically be doing. And there was one more deal I wanted to make. So we are trading up in the 2nd round, and the reason why I'm doing this now is because I don't like to trade players during the draft. But we're trading up in the 2nd round, moving up from 64 to 47. But we're giving up 2 players on our roster who has developed very nicely in Will Vrabel and Gregory Cole for Keyshawn Lloyd. Now, Lloyd on this Falcons roster has just been buried on their depth chart. They've had a ton of other players, and I know it says an X factor, but he's entering into his 3rd year. He's not a polished route runner. He's not anything, right now, nothing special. But what Lloyd is going to bring to our roster is, for one, competition in the back half. I think entering into this year, we have our 3 guys that we can go in and out with. But for Lloyd, who's a 76 overall, he's more big, doesn't have the best, he's not a route runner at all. But he has solid hands. Not the best speed either. I wanted to bring him in here. He's a player that I've wanted to bring in here for a while now. He's not injury prone either. So hopefully with Lloyd, Phil, and Ben, we can have 3 young guys that can grow and develop behind both Hopkins and Elijah Moore. But now this is our draft capital. We have traded up in the 1st round and 2nd round, moving off of a couple players. We still have a lot of picks that I will probably end up trading up in the later rounds, but I wanted to make these 2 trades with our first 2 picks to get higher values with, to see if we can get some of the bigger name players I wanted to draft. So now, everyone, it's time to begin the NFL draft, the 2026 class, and let's start drafting. Us as the New York Jets have traded up in the 1st round. We have this all-in mentality. Let's go quickly look at the roster. Right here, right now, you guys, there is a player that I wanted to draft, and you guys might be wondering who it is. But right here, right now, we are just trying to get in as much talent as possible for this up-and-coming season. We need to make sure that both Stephen James can stay upright. We have still top-tier receivers. And right here, right now, I think we're doing the right things in terms of bringing in playmakers. But let's go through this NFL draft, and the LA Rams will start with the pick. We traded up again, or we traded up, so we only have 5 picks to see. So the LA Rams, let's see what they decide to make here as they draft quarterback Brent Hardland from Virginia Tech. They needed a quarterback, and our rivals, the Patriots, decided to draft Cody Meyer, a corner who is a player that I actually really liked. He was one of the players that I was considering, but he's a good player. The Miami Dolphins, Derek Hamilton, another big-time corner. So 2 corners going to our 2 divisional rivals trying to stop Hopkins. Now the LA Chargers, they go Eric Bishop, pass rusher, and then finally the Green Bay Packers, as the Packers draft Jalen here, quarterback. So they did trade for Ezekiel, but they now have their young quarterback. So now we are on the clock, and who did I trade up to go get? And yes, this player here is a safety, Desean Bryant. Now, you might be wondering why. He has good coverage. I feel like he's going to have good zone coverage. He's a zone cover corner, so that tells me that he has good zone coverage. But Bryant here, he's fast. He's an athlete. He can do everything. He's kind of strong. He's not the strongest. But I think in terms of playing both the slot and becoming our future for Davis, who has a contract, needing a new contract in a couple of seasons, we're kind of just securing ourselves. And I think Bryant will be a little bit better. I'm hoping that he's going to be better than Sheldon Love day 1. And if he is, it's going to be huge. So let's see if my guess here is correct. Bryant is the draft pick. And Bryant is hidden dev with 92 speed, 90 agility, 95 agility, 90 acceleration. Very happy with this pick. 21 years old, out of Ohio State. Very happy with this draft pick, and I'm hoping that that zone coverage is very good, so then he could play in the slot for us this year. So now we don't pick until the midway point in the 2nd round, and we really don't know this draft class too well. I have been terrible not showing you guys. But this draft class has a ton of quarterbacks. I'm expecting a ton of quarterbacks to go in this 1st round. They have some solid running backs, not a ton, no one that I really liked. But in terms of the players that I was targeting, besides Bryant, Matt Joe here, he's another player that I want to draft. He has good cover skills. Run stopping right now is not what I care about. But in terms of cover skills, he's the guy that I am hoping that we can get in the 2nd round, because of both that zone coverage and man coverage, both at B's. I think that would really help. The other player is Nick Woodley here, who is, like I said, he was an athletic tight end. Don't know his hands, but I know he has solid blocking skills, but he's fast in the class. He has great strength. So I know he's going to be a solid player, and we now need a backup tight end. So Nick is definitely a player day 3 that I want to get. And then Terrell Randall here, he was a receiver I liked. And then there's a few other players, a lot of receivers. I wanted to make sure that I cover my bases here. Some good offensive linemen too. And we'll see. Overall, there's 22 players on my board. I didn't write down every single player that I wanted to draft, but I got the player that I knew I wanted. So with this draft class, though, I'm going to kind of go a little faster, so I'm not going to be going through every single draft pick. But let's go through the 1st round. So the Oakland Raiders, they've moved off of their starting quarterback. Do they draft another quarterback? No, they go corner here with the 8th overall pick, or the 9th overall, 7th overall pick, one of them. The Denver Broncos decided to take a pass rusher. The Houston Texans, Joe Battles, another tackle. So pass rush and tackles were going off the board. Miles Andrews going to the Detroit Lions. It's another pass rusher. We're actually seeing a lot of defensive end, not yet quarterbacks. We've seen one. Here's Jake Matthews going to Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe replacing Big Ben after a few seasons. As the New Orleans Saints draft another tackle. The Falcons drafting a corner here. So they helped out their secondary. They brought in Bradbury too. So they're maybe getting a kid to wait a season to play, as the Philadelphia Eagles draft Bryce Drew. He was the other linebacker that I really did like. I just did not think that we needed to, I just didn't want to trade up again in the 1st round. The Jacksonville Jaguars decided to draft a quarterback because this is Madden 22. The Seattle Seahawks also drafted quarterback. I think Russell's still on their team, but they now have Harris as their backup. As the Vikings drafted, I guess, a replacement for Blake Cashman. The Giants drafted a linebacker. Really never see them do that. Matt Woods going to the Colts. Now let's go check out the board and let's go see where Matt Joe. Yeah, Matt Joe. So he's right now third on the available board. Now both of these two other linebackers I do like, Marcus Huggs and Malcolm Metcalf here. They're two players I do like, but I just like Matt a little bit better. So right now, if I see both of these two guys go or one of them, I will settle for one of them. But right now, Matt's the guy that I would like to draft with this second pick. So if both of them go, then I will get aggressive. That's basically right now my game plan. The Bengals drafted a corner, and the Ravens just tried to draft a quarterback yet again. Madden 22 being Madden 22. The Panthers drafted a running back as the Bills drafted a tackle. So two of our divisional teams drafted corners, and the Bills decided to draft a tackle. So now the Chiefs are on the clock, and they go also a quarterback. So hey, you know what? They don't need more talent on their roster. They already have Mahomes. Why not have a good backup quarterback? Cleveland decides to draft a good guard. I did like Nelson Webb. Webb was a good player on the board. And the Washington football teams decides to draft Charles Oglesby, excuse me. I don't know why they didn't run the football in the Super Bowl. So, and then to finish off in the first round, the Tennessee Titans, hey, they have Derrick Henry, they have Ezekiel Elliott. Why not draft another running back? What the fuck? Keep drafting running backs, Tennessee. So, Tennessee has actually drafted have upgraded a ton of their offensive side of the ball. So, they are kind of getting scary a little bit. But as we can see, no linebackers have yet to go off the board as we have 10 more spots. I am willing to be aggressive here, but I just don't think that we're going to make a move unless we really need to. As a quarterback, Cody Peters is going to the Titans, excuse me. Seeing some more defensive players. No off-ball linebackers, no middle linebackers just yet. 5 picks to make. Hopefully we can get the guy, and here goes Marcus. So now there's only 2 players, and now this is kind of where things can kind of get messy here. Let's see how much it would cost to trade up. I just don't want to risk it. So the Cardinals. They need a tight end. They need a left tackle. I don't think he goes here, but he could. So let's try to trade up with them. Maybe we do our 2nd round pick, and what about a 4th round pick? Just to move up a few spots. Oh, then I didn't even select a draft pick. Of course I didn't. Let's see if just to move up a few spots, 3 spots. The trade is done. Okay, cool. We're gonna get the guy we wanted. I wanted to make sure we got him. So we are now on the clock, and now we're gonna continue to help out our defense here by drafting linebacker Matt Joe from, I don't remember his college, Old Miss. Maybe drafting him a little higher than necessary, but Matt Joe comes in here as a 88 speed with hidden development. That makes everything great. So Matt Joe coming out here. I know he's going to be good in coverage, and maybe in a season or 2, he's a new partner in crime for Theodore Dickerson. So after that trade, we now have to wait all the way up until the 3rd round. And I don't think that, right here, right now, I don't think there's another player that I really want to go get. Now, maybe we try to get Nick, but I just think right now, we hit on a linebacker, we hit on a player in the secondary, we try to get a playmaker. Terrell Randall's probably my favorite option, but we'll see. I'm not going to... So yeah, let's continue going through these draft picks. So the Pittsburgh Steelers... They helped out. Now they're going to get an offensive lineman as the Bucks here. Who do they go? They go with Phil Spencer here. Right here, right now, what do you guys are thinking about this offseason? I know it wasn't this huge offseason going out there and getting, both Aaron Donald and DeAndre Hopkins. We brought in Jonathan Allen and then a couple playmakers around him. But overall, what do you guys have thought of this offseason? We've been a little bit more aggressive in the draft, and I think that should help us with our youth of the roster. But let me know down below what you guys have been thinking so far of this draft class. Drafting so far in Madden 22 has been difficult. It's just a long process, and I kind of have just started to look at the players that I like at the beginning, and then the back half of the roster or the draft, I kind of just go, who cares? There goes Malcolm. He's a player that I did like. There goes a corner that I liked, the Buffalo Bills. I feel like the Bills always draft the corners that I like for whatever reason. KC decides to draft a corner. We still have 32 picks until our next pick, but we'll end up until the second round here just to see. The Browns drafted a linebacker, and the Washington football team helped out their defense, getting a defensive tackle, and then the Atlanta Falcons drafted a center. So we are back on the clock here with the 32nd pick in the third round, the last pick. We do not have a fourth round pick, and we have 2 5s and a 7. So right here, right now, I think what I should do is make sure that I get the tight end that I want, and that's Nick Woodley. I would have drafted him in the 4th round. Without knowing any of his hands or anything, I'm hoping that Nick, with his good speed and athleticism, that it just kind of makes up for it. So Nick at 6'3", he's the draft pick, and he comes out here with 85 speed and also hidden development. So maybe a good backup tight end for Dylan Henry, and might be the move that we make. We go with some young tight ends every few years, but Nick will come in here and be a solid tight end. So now we don't pick all the way up until the midway point of the 5th round. There isn't a ton more that I want to do in this draft class, so maybe what I'll end up just doing is drafting or making a trade with the 5th round. I think that's what we might end up doing. We still have 8 players on the board as we're on the clock right now. But right here, right now, I think we trade out of this pick. Terrell Randall, he went somewhere in these last few rounds. I think we're going to trade out of this draft pick. We still have a later 5th round pick. But let's trade with I would assume the Broncos will be bad. So let's go with the Broncos. We'll get their 4th round draft pick next year. And with the back half of these draft picks here, we'll hopefully get a couple players that can either make the practice squad or add some competition. We've helped out the defense a ton by getting a good corner-safety and a good off-ball linebacker. We've helped out the offense by getting maybe a good backup tight end. So I think we'll stay with the offense here. I think we need another solid wide receiver. Maybe we draft a quarterback. We have Tom Brady as the 3rd string quarterback, so maybe we put in a different quarterback. I like the depth of our offensive line. Unless it's the best player available, but we'll look at my board as, I don't know why I'm not simming to our next pick. But yeah, let's see what we can do here in the 5th round. I always try to limit myself to 1 trades during the draft. So there's a few receivers here that are UDFAs, a couple defensive tackles, and a corner. So do we go back to the well of corner? We have enough defensive tackles. I think it would be one of these receivers I would draft. Here in the 5th round, we're going to draft Jeff Jeffries, who's 6'5", he has good release, good catch in traffic. Hey, who knows? We'll see what he can do during the preseason. He will be the draft pick. He comes out here with 87 speed, normal development, not the best athletes, but who knows what he will have for traits. We'll see his overall. And with the last pick, we pick all the way up until the last draft pick of the class, Mr. Irrelevant. I'll see my board. We'll make this selection. So we just drafted a receiver. We still have a few players. The player that I actually would draft here would be Nick Rodriguez here, who's an excellent athlete, 5'9". He's extremely fast. But I don't know if I want to double up at wide receiver. I'll go through the draft class and see if there's anyone that I find intriguing. So after looking through the draft class, Nick Rodriguez here is the only intriguing player. He has good speed. We're going to double up here at the back end of the draft. He comes in here with 90 speed, 98 acceleration with also normal dev. And that is our draft class. What did you guys think of the class, everyone? I know we made 2 aggressive moves early on to help out this defense, potentially even just long-term and short-term. But what did you guys think? Let's go through the class. Let's go see who did we miss out on. But Desean Bryant here, 82 overall. I don't think you guys can be mad at me with this draft pick here. 84 zone coverage, 80 man, good tackler. He can play at both. He can play both corner and safety. I think he already comes back or better than Sheldon Love, who I want to get Love on the field, but I think Bryant might be just a little bit of a better player to come in here and day one help us, and that's what we were looking for. Matt Joe here came down as a 71 overall, was 67 zone coverage, 88 speed. Gotta work on the coverage ability a little bit. He needs a year to develop. He'll be okay. You know, we have Jalen Smith and Blake Cashman to help out. We'll get him on the field. Nick Woodley here, who was also a hidden depth tight end here, who has 85 speed, 81 catching. Not the best blocker, not the best in route running, but Nick here will be a solid backup tight end for a couple years. Jeffers here, who came down as an 84, definitely a physical tight end here. Not the best route runner, but has good hands. We'll see what he can do, see if he can make a difference here. And then Nick Rodriguez here, a 61 overall, 90 speed, not the best or solid hands. He just needs a lot of work. Good player, you know, for the 7th round, last pick of the class. Not mad about that. So let's go see the rest of this draft class. So I don't know why it's like this. Let's just go by highest overall. So we got one of the best players in the class. We actually got this tied for the first, Desean Bryant, but the Patriots got also an 82 overall, Cody Meyer here. I knew he was going to be very good. He was definitely a player that I probably would have drafted over Bryant if he was on the board. For me, I wanted to get a top tier corner or a safety to help out this secondary, and I'm happy that we got Bryant to come over. But there's still a lot of good players in this class. I'm happy to see that. But let's go through the entirety of this class. So it looks like the LA Rams just got a new starting quarterback. The Dolphins are able to replace Xavier Howard. And there's still a lot of good players here. Terrell Main's going to the, the Raiders? Yeah. But overall, this class had a lot of good playmakers, but a lot of good quarterbacks, it looks like. Bruce Drew here, who was the other linebacker that I like, came down as a normal dev with 87 speed. Really like the player we got, though. Drew would have been a good run stopper, but happy with the player that we got instead. And there's only one other player, but you know, Nelson Webb here, he was another player that I would have drafted if needed for the offensive line. Good player, hidden dev, guard. So Cleveland improves their offensive line. And then overall, it looks like, you know, this is a good class. There is one player that I want to find. I think he went in the 4th round. Let's try to find him. He was the receiver. I forget his name. Something Terrell. Terrell. I can't find him. Here he is. So Terrell Randall got drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. 70 overall, good player. 93 speed, would have really liked him. He actually would have came in here and been basically a day one Sean Samuel replacement. But couldn't draft him. Happy with the draft class, though. We got one of the best players in the class, so you can't really be mad about that at all. So guys, what did you think? What do you think of the offseason? Very excited for the next year as we're going to simulate to the preseason. We still have to make some undrafted signings, but let's just put together the best roster or the best depth chart real quick. And yeah, what did you guys think of? And I lost connection. Of course I did. Okay, we are back after lost connection. So we are back here. But yeah, guys, what did you guys think of the changes that we made? You know, we added Tom Brady at quarterback. So I mean, hey, that's a good move, I think. But you know, we went out there, we brought in Keyshawn Lloyd to come in here and play as a, you know, maybe a fifth receiver, maybe a third receiver, who knows? It's going to be a competition for that third receiver spot during this preseason. We moved off of a top tier tight end, but I think Dylan Henry can take over, and we drafted a solid player behind him. And then defensively, bringing in Jonathan Allen. We have brought back Blake Cashman and Jalen Smith. And like I said, this move, because of the fact that Davis is 29 years old, you know, he's entering into year 7, you know, he's a good player, you know, but Davis here, you know, even though he's an 88 overall, he still has 2 years left on his deal. So this is kind of a move that I decided to make, predetermined that, you know, in a few years, Davis might not be on this roster, and Bryant can come in here, compete with Michael Carter and Sheldon Love for that third, or for that slot spot. But let's go through right now undrafted players and any veterans that I might want to bring in. We still have cash, so we might as well make some moves. So yeah, let's go see the rest of free agency. Right now, we have about $23 million, so let's make the most out of it. So we're going to sign undrafted quarterback Pendle Munley here, who will be our 4th quarterback, maybe a practice squad candidate. We're going to be bringing back Alex Dixon, who was on our roster last year. We cut him part of the way through the season last year, but Dixon will be back trying to make the roster. We're also going to be bringing back Juwan Johnson for another season, maybe to be our 3rd string tight end. We're also going to bring in Matt Knox here. Might be the brother of Seth Knox, but Matt here has good speed, got to just work on his hands. And just in case, due to injuries, we are going to bring in Travarius Ward. We have the cap space, so Ward's going to come in here, compete for the roster spot during preseason, and he will be a solid backup corner to the roster. So guys, that is right now all the free agent moves that I'm going to be making. So next time will be the preseason. We're going to go through all 3 preseason games in a highlight reel. What did you guys think? Again, I'm going to bring this question up to you guys. What do you guys think? Did I make the necessary moves? Did we improve? Did we not improve? I think we did improve, even with moving off of a starting tackle, tight end, wide receiver, losing Aaron Donald. You know, we have players to replace them with. We got younger at some positions. Overall, I'm excited for this up and coming year. I'm excited for competition. So guys, if you guys enjoyed today's offseason, please leave a like, comment down below what you thought, and don't forget to subscribe. And like I said, we're going to be going through this season as normal. Even when Madden 23 does drop, this series will continue. So guys, I will see you in the preseason.